the City of New Britain. Building hope together for a greater community.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2017-2018 Common Council hearing on the Mayor's proposed budget. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Alderman Giantonio.
Here.
Alderman Salerno.
Here.
Alderwoman Black.
Present.
Alderman Carlozzi.
Here.
Alderman Collins.
Present.
Alderman Davis.
Here.
Alderman Hargraves.
Here.
Alderman Naples.
Here.
Alderman Pabon.
Here.
Alderman Polkowski.
Here.
Alderman Rosado. Alderman Salerno.
Here, again.
Oh, sorry about that.
Still I was gone, but I'm back now.
Alderman Salvio.
Here.
Alderman Sanchez. Alderman Sanders.
Here.
Alderman Smedley.
Present.
We have 13 here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. If you could please read the legal notice into record.
In accordance with Article X, Section 10-3E of the Charter of the City of New Britain, the Common Council will hold a public hearing on the Mayor's proposed budget and Mayor's proposed capital projects budget on Tuesday, April 25th, 2017 at 7:00 p.m. in the Smalley Elementary School Auditorium, 175 West Street, New Britain, Connecticut. Detailed reports are available for public inspection in the City and Town Clerk's Office, 27 West Main Street, New Britain, Connecticut, and handouts will be provided at the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. If you could just note that Alderman Rosado has joined us. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Just wanted to go over a few things. This is the council's public hearing on the mayor's proposed budget. We usually try to take this hearing out of the council chambers and on the road. My time here on the council, we've been to New Britain High, Slade, and last year we were at Gaffney to highlight the brand new construction at Gaffney. This year we're in a little bit different place. We're in Smalley Academy to highlight the need in our community. So I think we all know about the Smalley reconstruction project and that our delegation at the state is fighting to get us the funds to hopefully get this project done. So I look forward to a future hearing in a brand new auditorium in a brand new renovated building. Just to go over some ground rules, each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the council. When you come forward, please state your name and address, and again, your comments can be limited to the budget only. I will start. The first speaker is Mr. Stephen Amato.
Hi, my name is Stephen Amato, 283 Main Street, toy store. I'm here tonight to talk about parking as I figure it relates to the budget because it's a source of income. And I assume that once it's in the budget, then, then I hear, well, we can't do anything about it because it's in the budget. Only a few years ago, it was 25 cents for 20 minutes and a $5 ticket if you went over. Now it's 25 cents for 10 minutes, which is double. That, I believe, is acceptable. However, the ticket, if you stay just 1 minute too long, is now $30. That is a six-fold increase. But wait, even worse, it triples to 90 in 7 days. How is that not excessive? Excessive greed or price gouging? If any business did this, consumer protection would be all over them. Can you imagine a six-fold increase in electric rates? Or what if they tripled your bill because you were late in paying it? The city should be ashamed of this, and it needs to be changed now. We are spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try to improve the town center. Then we chase people away for $30. I know this is a fact because I've had customers tell me they won't come back. The other parking issue is that it's being abused. There are several cars in front of my store all day, most every day. They have handicap tags. They put nothing in the meter and park in a 3-hour limited space all day. At least one of these cars belongs to a school board employee. The state law, as I understand it, they came and explained it to us at a meeting, requires a handicapped driver to put the amount of money for the time they expect to be where they're going. So if you work at school board and you expect to be there all day, you need to put 8 hours worth of quarters into that meter. And it's only a 3-hour limit, it won't even register them. It seems to me there ought to be some way of patrolling this. I don't know if the meters can tell you when money was last put in, but if a car is there first thing in the morning, you could tell that no money was put in that day. And it takes up valuable spaces that customers can't use, and they just sit there all day long. So, that's it for me. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Amato. Next is John Christophic.
John Christophic, 292 Linwood Street. Thank you for this opportunity. You sure look cozy up there. Well, that is how the residents of New Britain feel with our tax rate. We cannot be happy with this budget because we have the third highest mill rate in the state. Basically, I have a few questions. I don't know if they'll be answered afterwards. Do we pay for that new slogan, leading the way? Did we get reimbursed from the state for the reduction in the car tax? Did more money go into our rainy day fund? And what is the extent of this rainy day fund? How much more? And if no money is going in there this year, where is that 15 million that's basically been apportioned for the last couple of years? Where does that go? I realize that the school budget is important, and I will commend the mayor for basically keeping that budget status quo. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Christophic. That is all I have signed up at this point. If anyone else would like to address the council, please come to the podium and state your name and address. For a second time, is there anyone else who would wish to address the council? For a third and final time, is there anyone who would wish to address the council?
Want to have you put your time in and feel you've been here a while, Mr. Gianantonio. Thank you very much. John McNamara, 56 Brighton Street. I haven't had a chance to look at the proposed budget closely, and I'm sure you'll get into the weeds on it during the month of May. But I just urge the council to closely examine City Hall spending in terms of a couple of things. Use of consultants, the kind of spending that's discretionary, but doesn't send the message that there's some fiscal tightness going on. But I hear a mixed message that, and it's true, we're a financially distressed city with sort of an unsustainable tax base. But when I hear about a consultant as a lobbyist, why do we need a lobbyist up at the Capitol in the city when we should be working with the legislative delegation, the bipartisan legislative delegation, on New Britain's interests? Why do we need to spend excessive amounts on water projects that are totally questionable? So I'd urge you, given the limited time and the busy schedules you have, to the extent you can, to ask the right questions of the administration, and just examine closely what can be cut out of the budget. Because on the one hand, I think City Hall spending has gone up in consecutive years with the revenue derived from the highest property tax increase in history. And on the other hand, funds for the schools are static. I think it's a question of looking at budget priorities and what's in the best interests of the citizens and the families of New Britain. And I don't envy the task you have before you with the uncertainty over the state, what the state will deliver. I predict that it probably won't be $28 million more, although we'll wait to see what happens. But I think you need to make a sensible estimate on that, probably an as-is amount of state aid, which is over $100 million. And the other thing that's disturbed me is about, as the previous speaker raised, about the rainy day fund, the surplus at 14 million or whatever the amount is. I think that really needs to be looked at about how real that is, given the short-term borrowing that the city has engaged in. And in fact, you saved some dollars a few months ago by saving $6 million on interest payments, but the city will have to pay that money at higher interest rates in the out years. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, if you could just let the record reflect Alderman Sanchez has joined us. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Ken Spire. I've been a resident and homeowner at 13 Audubon Street, New Britain for nearly 40 years. I'm on the board of the HRA of New Britain, and I'm proud to have volunteered collecting food for the New Britain Food Pantry for several years and distributing food at the pantry on several occasions. Last year, the New Britain Food Pantry provided basic food for 1,743 men, women, and children in 748 households, most of them on a continuing basis. All of these families live in New Britain below the federal poverty level and qualify for the federal SNAP program. Last year, the food pantry received and processed about 45,000 pounds of food, most of it donated free, not counting more than 400 Thanksgiving turkeys and 2,241 packages of food for elderly New Britain residents.
Mr. Spire? This public hearing is just for the budget. Does this relate to the budget?
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
Okay.
It absolutely
Just
does.
checking. Thank you.
Most of the staffing is volunteer, with only 2 paid part-time staff. HRA operates the food pantry with a budget of only $25,300. More than half of this money was donated by community sources, in addition to the very widespread food donations. We are asking the city to provide only $10,000, less than 40% of this budget, to enable us to keep the food pantry open for the many New Britain residents, including children, who depend on it for a healthy diet. This is less than $6 per person per year, less than 50 cents per month. HRA pays the rest out of our own very strained financial resources. The city provides space for the food pantry in Osgood Park, in a building which once served as locker rooms for the now defunct Osgood Pool, and provides heat and electricity. HRA pays all other operating expenses, including snow plowing, insurance and waste removal, minimal staffing, and purchasing food at 17 cents a pound to fill gaps in the food donations. Where can you buy meat and other foods at 17 cents a pound? The city asked HRA to assume operation of the pantry several years ago and promised funding, which has been sporadically provided. When my wife and I began volunteering to bring food to the pantry, it was open to distribute food 3 days per week. Now food is distributed once a week, with families only permitted to receive food every second week. It would be tragic if the pantry were forced to close for lack of the small funding required. The Herald has provided favorable publicity for the food pantry, including a photograph of our mayor delivering food donations. Now is the time for the city to provide a small financial contribution to keep this essential community resource operating. Thank you.
Sure. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Ms. Spire.
Good evening, folks. Good to see everyone at Smalley. My kids went here, and I taught here for ages. So this stage was my home. That's irrelevant, however. I'm here to speak on behalf of two of the organizations which serve New Britain's people with education and opportunity. One is the New Britain Public Library, and the other is our public school system. I'm on the board of the library. I was very honored when they asked me if I'd served there when I retired. And therefore, I can report to you that the library, A, is very careful about its expenditures. B, its staff is paid less than is paid at comparable sized libraries. Just because this is New Britain, we can't do better. Many of them love New Britain, and therefore they stay. Some of them don't stay. We are spending our money wisely at the library, and we would appreciate the full funding of the budget request that went in from Pat Rutkowski and the library board. So far as the school district, this year we have Nancy Serra at the head of the school district as superintendent. She's a New Britain person. She knows the stresses on the city. She also knows the school district very well. She's worked in all areas of it. She gave you a budget which is one of the leanest things I've seen come out of the school district in years. Calls for, I believe, a 0.85% increase, not even a whole increase. There's a point there. I would ask you to please at least fund her full request. Don't go cutting it down. I think every one of you has said you support education. You respect the New Britain schools. You think Nancy Serra is an excellent leader. Well, your job as council members is to fund the education. The state funds a great deal of it. You know that as well as I do. But your job as a council is to fund public education, the only education that most of our kids have a chance at in order to come up. A couple of you are my former students up there. I'm feeling old here. I feel like I've spoken for education for the past 30 years of my life, but I will do it again and again. Please fund the school budget fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barr. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? For a final time, is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Hearing none, I will close this hearing at 7:17. And just for informational purposes, we will be holding subcommittee meetings on May 16th, 17th, and 18th to discuss the budget, with a planned budget adoption meeting on June 1st. Thanks everyone for coming tonight. Have a great evening.